Hey guys, how's it going? So this is a bunch of crap that hit the fan. This is actually pretty wild stuff. But look, what I'm about to say in this video, I'm not going to take sides, okay? What I'm going to simply explain to you all is just what I've seen, my issues with this kind of statement, and everything else that has gone on. Dave Landau, I'm not super familiar with him. Steven Crowder, I'm more familiar with him, but I don't really watch Steven Crowder, hardly at all, okay? I actually didn't start watching Steven Crowder until after I was already subscribed to Daily Wire. And then when the whole thing between Daily Wire and Crowder took place, I delved into it, read everything, watched everything over it, and to me, Steven Crowder came out on top. And I'll explain that again as to why. But again, this is from me tearing through everything, not taking one side or the other. I was subscribed to Daily Wire first. Okay? That's the thing. So I don't want people to sit there and think I'm some sort of biased Crowder fan or anything like that. I'm certainly not. If I were to pull up his YouTube channel right now, I probably actually could. You could see every single video that I've probably... I'm just going to do this just so people don't think I'm a Steven Crowder fan. Simply because... Let's see, how many videos of his have I watched? I've watched this, and I've watched this. I think that's it. As of late, I really do not watch him hardly at all. Okay, this. So that's 4 videos that I've watched. And you can see, I haven't watched, I don't think anything else. I don't think I've watched anything else really by him, unless I were to go a couple years back. I remember I was a security guard at Google, and one of my fellow supervisors, well, I was a supervisor, security supervisor at Google, and one of my fellow supervisors actually showed me him, and I was like, oh, I didn't actually know about this guy, and he's like, how do you not know about this guy? Actually, okay, wow, I haven't watched any other videos. Oh, it's because I was on my Google account. I watched probably like 2 or 3 videos on my Google email at work, because, you know, had that privilege. At night when there's nobody else around, and you made your rounds already, you got to kill some time somehow. So all in all, that's how I found out about him. And then I forgot about him for a good long while. I never subscribed to him. Okay? Just didn't. And then as of recent, I'm more recently subscribed to him after the whole incident went down. And I was like, oh yeah, Crowder. Looked into it, subscribed to Crowder, unsubscribed from Daily Wire. I'm telling you that up front now. So there is 100% transparency. Again, you will see as I tear through this video that I am not biased in one side or the other. But I am going to talk about Dave Landau and everything he has dropped. Okay, but before I do, I got a music channel where I demo pedals, play guitar, show amplifiers, do all that good stuff. It would help me so much if you went there and subscribed. Link in the description. It's also up there in the top right corner as of right now. Like, yeah, right about 320 mark there, I guess. I'll put it there like that. You'll see it. It'll pop up right there in the top right corner. Click it, subscribe there. I need to get to 1,000 subscribers badly on that music channel. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. So, he starts off talking about things along the lines of why he left the Crowder show. How bad it was, how they got, like, into, like, how Steven Crowder would just scream at him and stuff, and it's insanely bizarre. There's so much to talk about. I hope I don't leave anything out, but I cannot play a full 2-hour video for you and break it down. I'm trying to condense this as small as possible. So I'm going to get into more of the stuff that matters and less of the backstage drama, okay? Apparently, Steven Crowder was jealous of some guy named Matt that had a really killer show, a killer stand-up thing with Dave. They went to go do stand-up together. They had Steven Crowder open up. I guess this Matt guy blew him out of the water, and he couldn't. I don't understand this at all when it comes to the stand-up. And apparently Steven Crowder thought he owned that stand-up. This is the weirdest thing to me for Dave Landau bringing him on his tour and then Steven Crowder thinking he fully owns the tour. Now, there's so many errors in all of this because the first time he ever screams at Dave is apparently while he's on the phone in a room full of people, and everyone can hear it. And look, I get it, okay? He can't record it there and all that. But after this moment, that's when the recording should have started happening. And unfortunately, he never gets to the point where he ever records a single outburst from Steven Crowder. And as far as I could tell, 3 of them happened in this story. I don't know how that happens. And then he comes on here and he's talking about, like, I don't like talking about this because I still see him as a friend. Are you serious? Like, the moment someone would have yelled at me once, I would have just told him, don't you ever yell at me again. This is the only warning you get. If it would have happened again, it would have been over, and I would have outed Steven Crowder completely. You see what I'm saying? Maybe this guy really is just that nice of a guy. I just don't... Is Dave really that nice? I mean, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but good God, the amount of abuse and stuff, right? So apparently he has this older contract. He never shows it. He never shows his first contract, which bothers me. So please put that out there, then I can review it, and then I can say, okay, good, you are telling the truth. It would be that simple. And he never shows any text messages. He talks about when he reads one on the show, but the text never pops up, so I just have to disregard it. It's all weird to me. Steven Crowder apparently gets incredibly controlling. Tells him he can't have this Matt guy on his stand-up for some reason. I don't know how he can do that. I don't think he did do that. I think he just filmed it anyway. But that's beside the point, whether he did or didn't. That's weird. It gets into weird territory. So, I want to come over to the contract, though. This is pretty late into it, but this is the most important thing because almost everything else is just backstage drama that I can't prove. It's just his word. And I'm not calling him a liar, but I can't confirm he's telling the truth. I mean, how could I? It wouldn't be responsible of me, as someone who was never there, to sit there and say, okay, I believe every word he's saying. Steven Crowder, how dare you? And then not give Steven Crowder the opportunity to turn over evidence, which I'm sure he's going to do probably tomorrow. So stay tuned for that, because I'll be jumping on that pretty quickly. But I find it strange that he has absolutely no... Why didn't he bring his first contract on, or at least dump it on Twitter, or the text messages? Just please do that, Dave. If you somehow, I doubt it, I'm too small of a channel, but if he sees this video, please turn those over, like on Twitter or anything like that, and just kind of prove your point a little bit more, because when you come out and you make dangerous claims like this to 40,000 people that have seen it so far, and probably fixing to be millions more, especially when people like the Quartering or Bearing, maybe. I don't know if Bearing will really report on this. I doubt it now. Bearing does more comedy stuff more than anything nowadays. It's great. I freaking love it. Bearing's like the best channel, in my opinion, when it comes to like just wanting to have a good time and not worry about what's going on in the world as much right now. But he still, gives news. It's just so much more relaxing. I just love his videos. It's something I can easily just stomach, because every time I turn on, like, not that I do listen to the Quartering all the time. It's just every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh God, it's just more. I can't believe our world functions this way. Jeremy's very informative, but it just irritates me to be like, wow, this is what's really going on in the world. You know what I mean? Which is why I just listen to music nowadays and don't listen to as much politics anymore, because, man, it's getting depressing. So that's just why I like listening to Bearing at the moment, because he's like, he can actually cover that news too, but spin it in such a way where it's just having a good time and being funny. And it's like, oh yeah, the world does suck, but hey, at least I can laugh at while it's burning down, I don't know. It's not, I'm not trying to disparage Jeremy at all. He does a wonderful job. It's just, I personally cannot handle it as much anymore. Everyone else is going to have a good time, and that's fine. I've just been getting a little bit more, I don't know, my skin's getting a little softer, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, not Jeremy's fault by any means. It's just me, not him. But my whole point with this contract is there's a lot here to break down. He says that Steven Crowder was accusing him a lot, I guess, of falling asleep. And he has his excuses for falling asleep. Only one time he says that he ever fell asleep while at work. And he was only late also one single time, and that's it. So I have some problems that I kind of have to pick out on this, okay? As it says in the contract here, subject to the notice provision in Section 1.5, contractor agrees to be present in the company studio Monday through Friday, 7:45 a.m., da-da-da. Okay, all this stuff, so as needed basis. And then he tells him legally must give 48-hour notice for any extra hours that he has to go that's outside of 7:45. Now, this is interesting. I'll just get into this first, actually. Company will enforce a strict 5-minute tardy policy. And he's like, this was only me that they'd made this on the contract for, and he's like, I don't understand it. I was only late once, da-da-da-da-da, and the whole time I was here. And it's like, why is it a full year later? Because this contract was drawn up for him in July, and it was terminated in August. Okay? August 2022, actually. So this is a little over a year, because he started in February of 2021. I almost said the 2001 thing, too. God. He started in February 2021. The contract ended in August, and he said it didn't have a date to end. They just ended it in August and said, you must sign this new contract. So that would be a year and 6 months in, and he was only late one single time out of the entire year and a half. But then they felt it necessary to put this in there. So what does he do? Well, he says that he got mad because they either offered him this contract or a 1099. Now, a 1099 is essentially what I'm doing with YouTube. I provide content and they pay me a little bit. You know what I mean? Assuming you're monetized. Now, I bet the deal is much better with Crowder than what it is with me and YouTube, for sure, because I make like $200 a month and do about 90 videos a month on average. Do the math on that, guys. Seriously. It's somewhere around there, give or take, depending on how well videos do. But yeah, all in all, he says he's irritated that he even got this, that he had to re-sign it all, and that the contract was just unfair. So what does he do? Well, instead of having them mark this, enforce a strict 5-minute tardy policy out, he says 15 minutes. That's a weird negotiation, but all right. For someone who said he didn't want to sign it at all. But he never actually, you know what's funny? He never says he signed this contract. Not at all. Instead, what does he go into? Right after this contract, he goes, yeah, this contract's BS. And he's like, I marked a couple things in here. And he was talking about something about which one did he say he wrote on? Attempt to accommodate, not necessarily, something about with his. So I don't want to leave this part out either. Apparently they said that he had to be there more often, and that he wasn't getting a pay raise. I don't know if that's true or not, though, because he never shows what he was getting paid. And he never shows what he was getting paid in the original contract. So I don't know that he got a pay raise or not. He had his own show, but they said he was losing money because he was going to have to do his own show on Louder with Crowder, his own segment, but not get paid any extra. But the problem is I don't know that that's true or not. So he really needs to show the full contract. Maybe omit names or even exact money amount, but he's going to have to really prove that he was making less. I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me. So apparently, going through all the rest of that, he didn't have as much problem with his contract as it seems to be let out, because he's like, I was so mad that I had to, that this was even given to me. But he negotiates, instead of 5 minutes, okay, give him an extra 10 minutes for tardy. That tells me that the chances of him being late were really a lot higher than he let on. For it only happening once out of 6 months, a year and 6 months, why did he need that extra 10 minutes? That's weird. Apparently, they put in the contract, which is not shown, that he had to move his son to Dallas, or his son to Texas, which I don't care about at all. I don't know what was said back then. He says that he never told Crowder that he was going to do that or something, but then he kind of told him, well, if things present the possibility for me to move him there, then I will. That way we'll be closer to the show and I won't have to be out of state for as long or something. They also said that for every third weekend or something like that, and it came out to 6 weeks, you couldn't be gone any longer than 6 weeks or something along those lines for his comedy tours, which apparently really affected his comedy tour. That's odd. And I don't know how they worded it. They worded it in a weird way where it was like every third weekend or something like that. But he was like, no, it comes out to like 6 weeks. And I just didn't quite understand how they do it. But apparently that's how tours book and start. And he goes, that would have made me not be able to make it back to the show on time. So I couldn't do a full tour. But here's the problem. If they're paying you as a full-time employee and you're taking off a lot of time, they're still paying you, maybe they were like, hey, no, if you're going to do the show, you do need to be here. They never fired him, but apparently he went with this contract. Because I see all the stuff he did to it, and then he ended up staying with them until December of 2022 or January of 2023, something like that. So he definitely probably signed this contract. I don't think he took the 1099. So he definitely most likely signed this contract because he never says. And stayed with them for months afterwards, at least 5 months. Then he gets into the Daily Wire stuff. And he makes a little hint at the Daily Wire stuff towards the beginning of the video where he's like, oh, we know that he records his phone calls. Well, he hardcore defends the Daily Wire. Says that he never should have released the private phone call that he had with Matt Walsh. And it's like, you know what? I don't care about that crap. I really don't. He's like, oh, that was his friend. They're saying he wasn't friends. And then the other guys are saying that he's friends. I don't know. It doesn't matter. To me, it's like, okay, if he's your friend, sure. But if Steven Crowder's like, he's not my friend, we were just, business acquaintances, then fine. That's how Steven Crowder felt. So morally, Steven Crowder did nothing wrong. You know what I mean? If he didn't consider him a friend, then it doesn't matter. You only not do that to friends. But I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not in their personal lives. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. It doesn't matter. The point is, I've went over that contract. And I came out on Steven's side for that because I broke everything down. We found out that the contract that was signed, or that they sent to Steven Crowder, was non-negotiable. By Candace Owens' own admission, it was non-negotiable because she was saying he should have put his big boy pants on and negotiated. But then like a minute later in Timcast, I've shown this many times, she goes, he sent back a ridiculous offer like $120 million for 4 years. And they couldn't pay that, so they just turned it down flat. And it was like, so they didn't come in the middle, they didn't try to change anything else? So they said, no, the original deal that we sent you is the only deal we're giving you, and he turned it down. Now, the one huge issue is he talks about the money that Steven Crowder was getting. He's like, $50 million? Oh my God, that was so much money. Well, it wasn't actually $50 million, was it? It was a 4-year contract at $13 million per year. Gets a little different because apparently if they got it, I don't know how much he makes, but he said something along the lines of, if we would have actually went with Daily Wire, he would have been making $350,000 a year. He's like, that would have been great. I'm guessing he was making in the neighborhood of somewhere, I don't know, anywhere less than that, probably somewhere between $100,000 and $200,000 a year, which is good God money. You know what I'm saying? That would, if I was making $100,000 a year, oh my God. My stack of amplifiers would go way up to the ceiling. But anyway, that's beside the point. Look, the fact of the matter is, when he's sitting there saying that, and he's like, oh, okay, well, all this money, da-da-da-da-da. Well, think about this, okay? Crowder has many employees, at least 10 employees. And Dave, if you're making like $100,000, then all the rest of the other people there are making $100,000, assuming he only has 10 employees, okay? Well, that's $1 million right there. How about advertising? I don't know how much that would cost. How about all the cameras? How about the studio sets? How about the ability to fly people out to certain locations for all their skits? catering foods, renting locations to film in, other things like that. I don't know where all the money goes. I don't know how it all works. But $13 million gets really tight whenever you're paying for everything else as well. And I don't know Steven Crowder's salary either. Apparently, Steven Crowder came out and said, I wish I was making as much money as you are. He's like, I don't take as much money apparently he makes less money than his employees. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I have no freaking clue. So I'm not even going to sit here and pretend like I do. I have my doubts that Steven Crowder would make less money than his employees. But I don't know. So I'm not going to even comment on it. I know a lot of people are going to sit there and be like, you really believe that? Well, no, I don't. I'm telling you, I really don't believe it. But is it possible? Yes, it is possible that he pays himself less than his employees. I would have no way of knowing unless something is released. And I think people should go in there with a bit more of an open mind. You know what I mean? So there is that aspect as well. If that's the case, I imagine that he's making closer to $200,000 a year from Steven Crowder. And that if everyone else is doing that, okay, then that's closer to $2 million a year. And if Steven Crowder has 20 employees, now it's $4 million a year. So, again, guys, the budget goes down lower and lower. So I don't know why he went into this whole thing, hardcore, taking sides with Daily Wire. That was just a dumb thing in my opinion. But you can tell that he's really, I don't know, something's just fishy. He signed on with the Blaze. And only after signing on with the Blaze does he come out against Steven Crowder. I find that to be suspicious as well. Can it all be coincidence? It absolutely can. But what you're looking at on the screen, guys, is the only shred of evidence. And I'll hide myself here. This is the only shred of evidence that we are given from him in this whole 2-hour podcast. Everything else is he said, she said. He makes Steven Crowder out to be this monster. He talks about these stupid lights that when they turn on, don't talk, let Steven Crowder talk. And I don't care about any of that stuff. To me, it's like, well, okay, this is his show. And if he needs to talk uninterrupted, then whatever. I don't care. Would I do something like that? No. But I'm not in his show, and I don't, think about how many subscribers he has, that Steven Crowder has. Almost 7 million. I don't have anywhere near that much, and maybe it's because I don't have my own gaslights, right? To quote them. Guys, Dave Landau could absolutely 100% be telling the truth on every single thing he said. It's a genuinely good possibility. And it's also a genuinely good equal possibility as of this moment that he could be lying about every single thing he has said, and he's being paid off maybe by the Blaze or Daily Wire or something else. Maybe, maybe not. But this in general was the most piss poor way I have ever seen anybody start any form of drama on the internet. It's just him coming out, showing a teensy-weensy snippet of something that may be suspicious, and then letting the whole world blow up with it, but then acting like, oh, I don't really want to talk about it. I don't want to make it a hard time for him. I didn't want to expose him. But, as he says, if the fans, or if I don't tell my story, someone else will tell it for me, and then, the fans will put in pieces there that fill in the gaps that are there. Dude, you left nothing but gaps. It wasn't a good thing to do. This is not the best way to handle it at all. And he's talking about how much he hated the infighting between Daily Wire and Steven Crowder. He thought it was awful. But yet, here he does show less evidence than both Daily Wire and Crowder. Crowder and Daily Wire showed more evidence to support their arguments than Dave Landau even dreamed of doing. This is arguably worse. Much, much worse. I don't know why he would make a statement about how much he hated the infighting and then come out and make all these baseless claims. That's not a good thing. Here's the fun fact, too. Apparently, his own agent yells and screams at him all the time as well. Not all the time, I guess, a couple of times. And to me, it just is like, well, God, dude, if everyone's yelling and screaming at you, maybe it's not so much them as it is you. Maybe not. Maybe he just surrounds himself with jerks. But who would do that as well? I couldn't imagine doing that. I don't like to surround myself with jerks. So I cannot help myself but be completely and totally skeptical of Dave Landau. And that's not my fault. That's his fault for not providing any other receipts other than this. And I wish I could have played a lot of the video for you guys, but 2 hours is too freaking much. So I'm going to link the video down here in the description below, of course. And you all should watch this full thing for yourselves. But I didn't want this to be like some big, long response video where I literally spend 45 minutes to an hour breaking it down. So all in all, what's my verdict? Well, until evidence is provided, I kind of just have to, I don't know, stay neutral, wait for Crowder's response. And if Crowder doesn't release any information to disprove Dave's claims and just talks to a camera and says, this is what really happened, I'm going to get irritated. And I'm probably going to unsubscribe from Crowder at that point. But if Crowder ends up showing hard evidence, it's not going to be good for Dave Landau. And it really goes to show that he probably should have kept his mouth shut about this. I don't understand the point of Dave Landau coming out and saying all this stuff that he has no evidence for. That just was not a smart idea. He should have kept quiet about it, in my opinion, if he doesn't have evidence. Apparently, he was asked to sign an NDA, and he didn't do it. But I have no proof because he should have had a copy of that NDA and should have shown it. He should have had a full copy of his old contract and a copy of his new contract. Full copy, not just this little snippet. And he should have provided the text messages as well. And if he doesn't have the text messages from a couple years ago, we'll call your phone carrier. I believe they carry up to 4 years of records, depending on the company. So he should be able to still get a hold of them because this was in 2021. It's only been 2 years. So you should be able to get a hold of those. I don't know. He really should get a hold of the evidence and release it out there. It's very important at this point in time because as far as I'm concerned, they're baseless claims. And while I'm not saying he's wrong and I'm not saying he's lying, I just don't feel comfortable saying he's telling the truth and believing him. Because that's what a religious person would do. Trying to, you know what I mean? Just believe. I don't do the just believe. Crowder, I doubt you're going to see this video. He's not going to see this video. But for the love of God, dude, if you address this, it better not just be, well, this is what really happened and then provide no evidence because I'm going to unsubscribe. So that's that. I will not subscribe to Crowder if he does something like that. If he shows evidence, well, then I'll, obviously, it's going to look bad for Dave. That's where I'm standing at, guys. I hope you all understand. I hope you all understand fully I am being as neutral as possible. I'm really not trying to take sides at the moment because there's nothing to really grasp. There's things that don't make sense from Dave. I haven't heard anything from Crowder, so I can't say if anything makes sense or not from Crowder. But we'll find out whenever he does, if he does. If he just goes silent about it, then this is dead in the water, and I'm going to ignore it. If he opens his mouth about it and doesn't show evidence, I'm done with Crowder. If he opens his mouth about it, shows evidence, Dave Landau just looks like a moron. So that's all I have to say about that, guys. Hopefully, I don't know, hopefully there's middle ground, and it turns out they're both just very biased to what happened. That's what I hope for. And then I could be like, okay, well, at least you both were morons together. And I can live with that a little better. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and thank you for bearing with me for 30 freaking minutes on this video. I tried to make it short. Please go subscribe to my music channel. It helps me so much. Follow me on Twitter. All my links are down in the description below, including to this video, for you to fully watch it. And just, hear a little bit of their sweet, succulent voices.
Force a strict 5-minute tardy policy.
So yeah, there we go. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.